Welcome to our podcast. I'm Stacey Donadio.
And I'm Shannon Fasone from Turnkey Women,
where we're opening doors for women in business.
Cheers!
Welcome to another episode of the Turnkey Women's Podcast. We are your hosts, Stacey Donadio and Shannon Fasone.
Hello.
And today, Shannon is going to explain to you why we have two men with us.
Wait, why did it become my fault? I don't remember taking.
I feel like it was your idea.
Yes, I think it's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
I'm always right, just so you know, in the world. But we are doing a little bit of a flipping of the script today with I'm going to quote Lauren Farrell, one of our girls, Juicy, that when you work with the right guys, it is like a game changer and a total shift of perspective. So we decided that it would be super cool and appropriate because we have a Turnkey Women connection, that these two guys are sitting in the not hot seat, so put your tomatoes down, girls, or whatever you have in your hand.
Keep them close by. We don't know what they're going to say.
Well, to be determined. No, I'm pretty sure. I am 100% sure that these guys are the real deal, upstanding professionals. They're great to work with, and we got introduced to them by our girl, Grace Hom. So Gracie and I met literally a year ago yesterday in this very building, Bell Works.
Was it for the summit?
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, we had an anniversary,
That's funny.
hug yesterday. And she loved our jackets, and it said Futures Female on the back. And she came running up to us, and she's like, I need to know you. And you know Grace's energy, right?
Oh, we do.
To know her is to absolutely love
Adore her. Yeah.
Love and adore her. And we hit it off, and we had known each other forever. And she wanted to get into the Turnkey Women group and the community, and she showed up like we could never have dreamed.
Gangbusters, yeah.
Connecting is like
I just
second
said
nature.
Gangbusters.
Yeah, you did.
I did, sorry.
But anyway, bringing us to the guys who sit in the seat. So first and foremost, let's introduce them, and then we will get to the story of how they got in the not hot seat. So it's Joe Marinaccio, who I remember getting the phone call, and I'm like, who's Joe Marinaccio coming up on my phone, which, by the way, is spelled wrong when it came up. I don't know if that's on my end or not, but I didn't program it.
Go ahead and say it's you.
Yeah.
And next to
I think
Joe.
Verizon probably got that right.
There's people who know me for 20 years that don't spell my name right, so don't be
I think I could do it right now. I was good at spelling, but we'll get to that later. And then to his right is his team partner, Daniel Pan, and they are from the Lakespire group of Raymond James. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
But when Grace...
We did bring the umbrellas just in case any fruit is thrown. You know, we have it ready.
Thank God.
We only
Thanks.
make drinks out of fruit. That's as garnishes.
Okay.
Or if you're Shannon, you eat the garnishes at a cocktail
That's
making
for another
party.
podcast
Yes,
altogether.
sorry. Digression.
Okay.
We digress, guys.
Yeah.
But welcome. We're happy to have you.
be
And
here.
Grace we went out to lunch with Grace a year ago.
Yeah.
Summer.
She's like, you have to meet them.
Yeah. She's
Have
like,
to.
these guys are awesome. They're looking for help in the digital marketing space. They wanted to get on the gram. Joe is going to be a huge star. Huge
Only
on
if
the
you
gram.
make me a star. You're going to make me a star. You're on your way to making me a star.
Look,
I feel like a star.
you're sitting in the star seat.
I am.
We didn't want to tell you that, but that's the star seat.
Sorry,
That's
Dan.
the star
There you
seat.
go.
Sorry, Dan.
It's-
You're next to me. We're not stars.
Gotta have one.
Somebody always
So
steals the
you
show.
both have some pretty nice credentials and designations. Tell us about them.
My name is Joe Marinaccio. I'm a financial advisor, CFP professional with the Lakespire group of Raymond James.
Daniel Pan, Vice President, Financial Advisor with the Lakespire Group of Raymond James. I am a CFA charter holder, which took a very, very long time to get.
And a lot of smart words.
yeah,
Can
leave it
you
at
tell
that.
us like what that designation is different as far as the credential of it all?
Sure.
That's as fancy as I'll get with that question.
You said it perfectly.
Oh, good.
I loved
Thanks.
it. Loved
Good.
it. So the CFA charter holder is one of the most rigorous and I guess probably the biggest course load out of many of the designations. When I took it, you could take a test once a year, and they said it was roughly 80 hours of study per test. And then the great news was if you failed, you had to wait another year to take it.
It's a lot of hours.
yeah.
That's a lot of time.
Did you have
Yeah.
to retake the course too?
I luckily passed every test
Yes,
the first
you
time.
did.
Because I couldn't wait another year.
No.
But I think now the new CFA tests. I think you can do them every 6 months, so
Well,
you
that's-
can get it done quicker if you need to.
Those tests are tough. I always feel like they ask the questions like, what, well, maybe not in your world, but in ours, in real estate, it's always like, what's the most correct answer?
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that even a question?
And
What's
they're
the most
all like
correct
off by
answer?
a word. It's very, very frustrating.
And for those of us who don't love to read or don't have our readers, not always the best. But bringing you guys back to here. So Grace and I and Stacy met a year ago yesterday. Maybe not the date, but the event. And she was really getting into her own social media. She was getting into Turnkey Women Group. And she's like, you got to meet these guys. They're talking about working with a social media company. They had worked with one previously. It wasn't the best fit. And so we connected. And we reached out. Joe called me. We had a great conversation. And we said,
Well,
said,
then we made them
Stacy,
buy us lunch. Don't forget that.
did we make
It
them?
was delicious.
That was great.
No,
That
actually,
was-
Joe beat everyone
He
to
did,
it.
He did. He was
which
very
I'm
sweet.
He's a good
entitled,
guy
so
like
that's
that.
tough. Like
Yeah.
for somebody to beat me to a check is
Yeah,
is impressive.
You did not. You were not on your game that day.
No, and I think you pretended to exit for a minute, and then all of a sudden it was like poof, done. I'm like, ooh, sneaky move.
I pulled the
Sneaky.
move.
I've moved that. I've done that to my
That's right.
in-laws. It did not go over well.
It never does.
No, they were happily annoyed, but annoyed. But kudos to you, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And the reason you guys are sitting in the not hot seat, is because Grace was on our podcast.
Yes.
And Joe watched it and was like wanting to be on the gram.
I don't want to step over Grace.
No.
No, never.
I just
Never.
found
That wasn't
the,
what it was. You had a great follow-up to the information that she brought to the table and a perspective that honestly kind of opened my eyes. And when we started the conversation about women and finance, I was like, I said to Stacy when we started working with you guys, like, I need your brain on this because these terms, they just don't stick in my brain. They just don't. The finance of it all, I'm going to say words that I do because you guys say direct indexing and your fancy Roth stuff. See how much I've learned just from working?
right.
But I don't know what it means.
It's just osmosis, just landing, just landing on you.
So what you know what you're talking about. It's just sometimes the audience, and I'm going to say it because I'm the one that's super guilty of it. As women, I let my husband handle it. And Grace sat here and she was like, we need to empower women. We need to have the control in the women's hands. You don't know what's going to happen in life. So you watched it.
I did watch it.
And
did.
what did you take away from that brought you to the conversation that you and I have had since?
Can I back up?
Absolutely.
And give you guys a plug.
Of course.
Oh,
Say how we got here. We should discuss how we got here. So, as you had mentioned, Dan and I were looking for social media, digital marketing help, and as Shannon, Stacy, you can attest to, I was a complete novice. Like, turn on the computer, that's about as far as I can get.
You've come so far.
And
he loves it.
so as we were engaging different digital media groups, we don't feel like we were getting the help that we needed.
Yeah.
So the same way you talk about the terms that I use or Dan may use, when we were sitting with consultants and people selling their programs and their products, they're talking way over my head. And it didn't matter how many times I would repeat at a table or at a lunch and say, you're speaking way over my head. You're speaking way beyond my capabilities. You got to start me at the beginning. Like, how do you get on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
What do you
What
do?
is Instagram?
What
is
is?
Instagram?
Yeah.
What is?
So,
You two spoke to us as if we were little children, very slowly and respectfully, but it worked. It worked so well.
Well, the same way, and that's like now a reciprocal
Right.
thing. It's
That's-
like,
that's
what is that? What is that?
and that's
right?
how I'm leading it. So
I love that.
when
Thank
I
you for
was-
validating my brain.
When I was speaking with Grace, our colleague,
Yeah.
and she said, "Hey, you know what? I know a couple of people that can probably help you.
Aw.
Why don't you give Shannon a call?" And so first thing I did before, just like anybody else would, I Googled turnkey women, and I wanted to see like
Who
what
are
it was.
these women?
And I called Grace back. I'm like, Grace,
I
I don't think they want to work with men. I don't think they're pretty adamant on their website that
I mean,
this is a
That's a
women's
fair
company,
statement. Look, that's a
right?
fair statement. It's
So-
a fair statement.
So Grace says, no, it's fine. So I called, and yes, we met for lunch. You went over.
Yeah.
You spoke, as Dan mentioned, you spoke to me like on my level or on our level, I should say. I mean, Dan was a bit ahead of me, so when I say my level, you were really going past Dan's level down to the bottom and saying, "Okay, Joe, stand up. This is what you're going to do now." And we appreciate everything you did. You guys do a great job.
That's awesome.
And
Well, don't tell our other clients, but you're our favorites.
I won't
Don't
say
tell
a
the
word.
ladies.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them.
No, they're great.
So
That's very cool. Thank you.
so now when Grace had done your podcast and I had watched it and I listened and I thought she made great points and I liked where she was going and I said I can add a little color to this. Dan can add a little color to this, and so that's why we're here now.
Which
Yes.
immediately when you said that, my defenses went up. Internally, I was like, please don't talk to me the way that I know I've heard I've talked to other financial advisors and even my friends who handle their family's financial stuff, investments, and I'm like, la, 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 la. And like these other, not Grace, she has always said, when you're ready, we'll talk. Like that's always been her perspective. And there was never, and as soon as you said that, I was like, but you told a story that I'm going to let you tell because it changed and it's going to change our audiences, I think, receptive to what you guys are going to bring to the table today.
When you had watched Grace's podcast and then you got in touch with us, we had our weekly Zoom call and you said, I have this idea coming on and I want to talk about why Dan and I think women are such an important demographic.
Okay. I'm going to back up just a moment.
Okay.
Because I'm going to connect this dot, right? I'm going
Yes.
to connect this dot here. Is that when we engaged you, and this is how the dot's going to connect. When we engaged you, I sat across from other digital media consultants and other consultants that were trying to help us. And yes, I felt patronized. Yes, I felt like I wasn't being connected to. And it didn't matter how many times I communicated to say, you have to back up for me. You have to dumb it down for you. Cannot use language like that. Maybe I didn't use those words, but it's use a
The
language,
message.
use a
Yeah.
language, and send a message that I understand. Get where I am, and then you can help me because I'm not where you are. And that goes into what we're going to talk about
Yeah.
here a little bit. Is that women are an important demographic. More women are controlling wealth. Women are, if not the fastest growing wealth segment, they're one of the fastest growing wealth segments, and they should be paid attention to as a demographic. Now, not all women are the same. They all don't have the same values. Not all families have the same values. Not everyone's going to think my ideas are the best. I think you used the term auditing your husband earlier.
That is my term.
So-
That is what that was. See, you say all these fancy finance words, and what did I hear?
Yeah.
Audit your husband. That's what resonated. That was like, oh, that was what really flipped a switch for me. And
Yes.
then I was like, now I'm listening.
So
I mean, I think any woman would say that. Like, I use this silly analogy all the time, and I love you, honey, but this is the truth. I asked you to change a light bulb when we moved in this house 8 years ago, and 7 years went by, and I was like, I'm going to change it myself now.
Yes.
And that is what brings us to this table.
So I will say that if a wife, girlfriend, significant other of some sort
Any
wants
partner,
to be
yeah.
involved and feels left out and wants to know, that of course I can't tell anyone how to run their family or their life. I mean, look at me. I mean, no one wants to copy me, right?
I don't know. He was in Florida last week when it was freezing here, so floating on a raft, we were having a Zoom. He was good.
But I will say that over the course of my career that sometimes the biggest motivating factor in wealth management decisions is because of, again, wife's girlfriend, significant other,
Yeah.
finally driving that decision, saying something's not right.
Yeah.
I want to get involved,
Yeah.
and we need to see somebody.
And to Joe, if you don't mind, just
Yeah.
take it a step further.
Jump in.
It works better. Like our planning works better if we're building a plan for a couple, right? It works better when both people in the couple are 100% on board. So if that means we have to educate the woman, or the man, like depending on who or the role. But again, if you're going to pay for planning, it helps for both people to understand everything very clearly and for both to buy in and to kind of practice what they preach.
Being on the same page is crucial. And like I even think of it now because we're building businesses. So even in the tax world and planning of it all, it's now going to affect my home that these businesses are happening, which I would think is like a synergy of where you guys come in whole picture to say your lives are changing. Like now you're in a different role and now you have different revenues and now you have all these different things that I'm just like even more confused.
I mean, well, think about a challenge unique to women is that you can have the happiest, strongest, most successful, longest lasting relationship. And as a woman, you could say that my husband handles everything or my boyfriend handles everything, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
But on average, women live, 5 years longer than men? So you may not envision yourself ever being a single former spouse. You may not ever see yourself in a single household. But the chances are the averages say that you're ultimately going to end up there.
Yeah.
You are likely to outlive your husband, and you are eventually going to have to take it on yourself. So, why not start learning?
Yeah,
right?
quite literally every member of
Yep.
my family. All the men, sorry guys.
Yeah, the men exit early.
They don't last.
They said we
Wow,
gotta-
talk about doom and gloom,
Wait,
guys. Jeez, but that's the point of it all, and it's a reciprocal thing, and you can look at it from the other side of like everything the moms do, the doctors, the schools, the teachers, the this, like coming together and really putting it all on the table so that everybody knows what is going on, whether or not the real understanding of the content is there. It's almost irrelevant, right? Like you're bringing people who are basically a team together so that they're winning and planning to win regardless of who dies first, who may or may not, marriage is ending, or like there's all sorts of unexpected, I'm going to win the lottery when that happens. Like I want to know what to do. I want to know what to do.
You call Dan.
I'm going to. I'm going to be like, it happened.
Can you tell us that, well, tell the audience, we already heard it, the story about the $20,000.
Which is where
Because it's like, girls, pay attention, and then go harass your husbands.
So I'm sure Dan will have a
More.
story too. In fact, I know he's got stories because we've shared stories, but without naming any names or any people, it's a common situation.
Yeah.
It's a common situation. Family is working with a financial advisor. They think they're not engaging properly with their financial advisor relationship.
Yeah.
Meaning they're not reviewing their performance. They're not understanding what they should be getting. Maybe they're not understanding the services they should be receiving or what a healthy portfolio might look like.
Or really how to evaluate performance and how to evaluate,
Right.
if the advisor's done what they're supposed to do.
So I walked into a situation where a gentleman asked me said things aren't going well. Can you please contact my wife? And I said, okay, we can do that. Now she tells me that then, I've had this portfolio for a long time, and I don't know what a long time means, right? I'm like, a long time. She's like, I don't think it's gone anywhere. He said, I'm pretty sure that I deposited $20,000 in 2007, and I'm pretty sure it's still $20,000.
And what year was this?
2025.
Shit, it's just out
Oh my God, I thought it was like a couple of years.
Yeah,
Not that, look, I'm going to sit here honestly and be like, I would be that girl. I am that girl. I'm not would be, I am that girl. I have no idea. I know my husband tells me, and I'm just like, ugh.
So, I as a financial advisor or any other professional, I can't go back in time and change what's already happened. All I can say is that this is what I think happened. These are the reasons. This is what you need to do. But her instinct was to, probably more over the years, but her instinct was that something was wrong. Right?
Always follow your instincts.
But didn't she have a sister who made didn't they get the same inheritance? Is this that story? Or am I confusing
That's a
stories?
different
Very
story.
different story, but almost.
But all the
Same
same.
premise, like the girls got the same amount, and
One
one
paid
girl was
attention,
ready
one
to go to
didn't.
college, and the other one's like, I'm not going to college.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
going to McDonald's.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But it's the same premise. If again, I think her instincts were right over the years, and it does. She didn't act on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
My husband handles it. I assume he's handling it, and that's fine. But there's no harm in asking questions. There's no harm in learning to. Some people hate this stuff so much that they won't even open their statement.
Yes.
They don't even look at their bank account spending. I mean, I know.
Yes.
I know. I'm engaging with people every day and learning
Yes.
their behaviors. And
Yeah, I would feel like there's a psychology to your end of the business that is
my personal
mind-opening.
experience, I think Dan will probably agree, and the statistics behind it say that women are less engaged with financial matters.
Why do you think that is? Like, what are the challenges that you?
Because we're doing literally everything else. Sorry.
That could be
Yes.
it.
Well, look, Dan said you, and I remember you were like, I want to do X, Y, Z when he was talking about the planning. And notice I say X, Y, Z. I don't remember what those things were, but do you know what I do remember? And then my wife is going to handle the important stuff because she knows how to
Right.
get things done. That was literally a conversation. I don't know what X, Y, Z is, but she's going to handle it.
Yeah.
And that's what resonates. And I think that that's what we need to remember, which really bridges Grace's empowering women to like take control at any point in your life, and you guys connecting the dots of, look, just because somebody's handling it, whoever
Yep.
that may be, you want to make sure it's being handled correctly.
Yeah, I think anyone can absolutely choose to not to. You know, maybe that.
Yeah.
Again, I look for people's values. I try not to impose my values on somebody
Right.
else, or what I think is important. Try to listen to what someone is saying to me, and there's nothing wrong with someone saying, "No, I'm going to let my husband handle it," right? But you know, there's even though your husband's handling it, even though your
Ask
wife's
the
handling it,
questions. To
Check
him.
in. Check
Right.
in.
Like, it's
Check
not
in.
like take your
Check in.
husband to
Open that
task.
quarterly statement.
Open that
Right.
statement.
Let's see what's going on
Just
here.
look at it.
Right.
Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because even Joe, I mean, if you just took that $20,000 and either put it in like a balanced account or an index, I mean, you'd probably have several $100,000 now, right?
I don't know
Stop.
about several $100,000, but you'd have more than 20.
Considerably more.
Considerably more.
Yeah.
I can't wait to win the lottery then.
Right, that's when you're going to call.
I mean, you guys, your
Call
phones
Dan.
are going to be
Right.
ringing. So you guys are a team, and we know a lot more about the Lakespire Group, obviously, because we work very.
You were among the creators of the Lakespire Group. Like Lakespire Group was me and Dan working in our office. Like
We are a team,
The
yeah.
brand Lakespire Group is growing because of
That's right.
of you two.
Thanks,
Like,
boys.
like, there was no brand Lakespire Group.
I don't know that logo.
logo.
There
Oh,
was
it's
no
good.
word Lakespire, actually, before us.
Did you make it up?
We did.
Is that why it always autocorrects me?
It always
It
red
Constantly
underline.
wants it
Sorry,
to be
we're-
like two.
No,
That's so
you're
funny.
you're a brand. It
That's
should
funny.
it should underline that. That's all right. When we say turnkey to Siri, she calls us turkey, so that makes
She
you
does.
feel better.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right?
she does
Yeah.
not like.
I'd
our
rather
name.
have an autocorrect than a turkey.
Than a turkey.
Than a turkey woman is what it always
So
says.
we've got an interesting stat here, which I think some of the girls at home might want to chat about. The average retirement savings for women aged 45 to 54 is generally lower than that of men. They says that according to recent data, women in this age group have an average retirement savings of around 150,000, and for men it's closer to 250,000. Why do you think that is?
Because they don't shop. No.
Old stereotypes, unfortunately.
Is it?
Partially. I mean, you know, I think we could agree the gender pay gap is definitely, you know, getting narrower, which is a great thing.
Are
It's
you
probably-
seeing that it's narrowing?
I think, you know, in the finance field, we could always use more women advisors, but you know, having worked at large firms as well as Raymond James, you know, we've seen like some of the best talent, and you know, some of the best talent is women, and you know, it's fantastic. I mean, we had women from Brazil, Germany, China, you know, and they were either traders or risk management. So yeah, no, they were great.
They're so impressive. When we meet the financial advisors, the women, I am just in awe of.
There's pretty impressive
It is.
women's talent, talent at Raymond James.
Yep.
And over the years, you see it was more of a boys' club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were seeing some
It's gotten
very
better.
impressive women.
Yeah.
Knocking down the walls and
Knocking
coming
down
in.
the walls.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love that. I
And
love
then,
that.
yeah, I mean, I think we can also be honest. I think certain times when women have children, they go on maternity leave. They might, you know, exit the workforce for a little while.
Yeah, we all
and I
do
think
that,
you could
yeah.
say, statistically speaking, that is going to affect how much they have in savings. Whether
Okay.
it's right or wrong, I think it could have something to do
Of
with
course.
it.
I mean, I
you
took
know?
7 years. 7 years?
Yeah,
7 years off of work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't remember
My
that.
wife would like to take off work tomorrow. So
I mean,
I
same.
think she should. That's called a spa day, and
Yes.
we really recommend that. You want
Yes.
to empower women. That's how empowering goes on my end of the things, but that's for another day.
We also have on here women invest less. They invest 40% less than men.
Yeah, and they save more.
They save more, but they invest less. So
Yes.
they're more keeping their money like close to their chest as a part.
Statistically speaking, yeah. So women save more from their paychecks. They save more and they invest less. And I think it's aside from doing more of the work and doing all the things that they do.
I didn't say that. She did.
I'm sorry.
She said that.
Sorry. And what Dan mentions about pay gap and taking time off for maternity leave and other things. There's just in our field, and this is kind of as I was watching Grace's podcast, is I think just to make it a general point is women are more afraid to engage here, either because their eyes gloss over and they don't want to bother with it, or their significant others handling it,
or we view it as a risk, maybe.
Well, that's what I keep thinking about. I think it's I like seeing my husband and I constantly have this conversation of he's an a guy, like he's worked in that world. My grandmother-in-law was a broker on Wall Street back in the day, and she was a boss, and she impresses me every time they talk, right? But when he talks about it, I get nervous energy when he wants to take what I can see in a bank account and I know is there, and I can see it, and every time I open my app, I know that number's there. It makes me feel safe. And he wants to invest it the same way that you guys smart know that your money's going to make money. It's a really hard thing as a woman. That risk makes me very anxious.
But it's unbelievably helpful, and I'm going to give my wife another plug, actually. So
do it all day.
The 2024 was a very good year for tech stocks and growth stocks in general. And if you had quality growth stocks, you did pretty well. And we developed a concentrated position in a single stock, which I'm not going to mention, but we did well on it. And I was keeping Stephanie throughout the price every day, telling her where it is, and what we're thinking. And turns out, we have some real estate renovations that we need to do. And when the market was just not trading too well in early February, she said, hey, why don't you take some off the table? She's like, we could use that to pay the real estate renovations. And lo and behold, stock gets cut in half, and, I cut a third of my position because of my wife. And she was right. So,
good job,
the risk management helps too,
And
it's
good job for listening, right?
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
That's for
it's our money, so I got to listen to her.
It's our money.
I love that.
Although I like to say your money is my money and my money is my money, but you can say that nice.
It's an example of an effective team.
Yes,
it is an example.
Absolutely.
Kind of what we're getting at.
Staying on the same page.
That's the goal. Yeah,
that really is. And I've taken my head out of the clouds. Like now, I give you guys all the credit in the world. I go home. When my husband comes home, I say these words to him. And he looks at me and he's like, oh my God, I've been with you for how many years and you would never want to talk about this. And I am asking the questions now. So I don't know if it's the guilt of not knowing and feel like I don't want to feel like I don't know what's going on. And I think for women, empowering that is such a big deal. Like, I'm still going to let him handle it. I'm still going to, not when I win the lottery, of course, but for now,
Dan's going to handle it.
Dan's going to handle that when I win the lottery, okay? But I want to know. I do want to know. I am an educated woman. I pride myself on being knowledgeable, and this is a big thing to not be knowledgeable about. So going home and asking the questions, I think, is the biggest takeaway from all of this.
I think from a male perspective, I think it's part of our job needs to become, and this is a challenge in the industry, is making sure we're engaging the women. And if that means the husband handles everything, at least asking the question.
Yeah.
Hey, should we bring your wife into this meeting? Hey, should we get her on the phone? This just happened to me yesterday. It was just we're thinking about appearing here with you, and got off the phone with my client. Right before we got off the phone, I said, "Hey," I said, "Is your wife there?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Just put her on the phone for me. I just want to review it with her."
That's great.
Smart, Joe.
Took two extra minutes of my time. Just this is what we just talked about. This is what we're doing. I mean, she didn't ask any questions. She was like, "Hey, you know what? Thank you.
Appreciate that."
Yes.
And it's going to be on us, the male financial advisors, the boys club, if you will, to make those engagements. Some of the other statistics that we may have talked about is
there's here
is that
36% of women surveyed said they feel patronized by financial advisors. How do you guys overcome that? I mean, obviously we know you're not patronizing. We know you have utmost respect for women. But how do you, like, what's your approach? How do you approach it differently?
To approach it differently is being mindful of what we're doing, right? And that means when a husband and wife are sitting in front of you, engaging the wife, and making sure that you're engaging, making sure you're watching her eyes, body language, understanding that she's part of the conversation, asking the questions that may be important to her, and it could be something about risk management, what have you.
We also put her at the head of the table. It's. I think you feel a little more empowered when you're there, even if maybe you're not driving the whole conversation.
Like me right now.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
you
why we-
are the star.
Joe's just sitting up there like,
You are the star.
We
No,
empower
it is.
men
There's
too.
a psychology
That's right.
behind that.
No, there is.
There are, like, a real estate thing is like when you go in for the listing appointment, and I never do it because it's not my jam, but like you as the agent sit at the head of the table, so like you command the power position.
I think it's also empowering, right?
Yeah.
Like it's also when somebody sits, it's like when you go to the dining room table. Like if I sat at the head of the table at Christmas Eve, I'd be like, all right, I'm ready.
It means you're a focal point.
I'm
right?
ready.
Yeah.
Bring on. I like turkey, even though nobody else wants it on Christmas Eve, but I want the turkey. But I think it does, and it's not in a patronizing way. It's a
We care.
Yeah.
And we're focused on
It
you.
is. And
Yeah.
it's important to understand and hear and be a part of it. And as women, we should be taking more initiative and really sitting at the head of the table every day.
That's our message today. Is
I love that message.
We have a job to do, and women have a job to do.
Yeah.
If you want to get into the conversation, please join us. But we have to make sure that we invite the women in to.
The
This might be a
conversation.
choppy sentence, but
No,
invite you
into
into the conversation.
the
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely.
And look, I even think of this in terms of like, I don't even like when the electrician comes. Like, I literally call, I'm like, you better be ready at 10:55 to talk to this guy. But the guy tells me everything. It's the same idea. Like, just because it's easier, ignorance is not bliss, especially in the financial planning of it all. Talk about
Yeah.
it. Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Of it all.
Yeah, and I'll tell women, don't be afraid to express your concerns.
What would you
And
tell
don't be afraid
some
to say
women?
if you feel patronized, say I feel
Yeah.
patronized.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh,
So-
that's a masterclass.
There's a woman who wants to review this podcast. You know, she's a friend and
Okay.
also a client, and she wants to review it. And she is a woman that would, if she felt patronized, she will sit there and look you in the eye and say, "Don't patronize me," and she will break away.
My
from the
kind of girl.
conversation, You know.
Yeah.
I'm a weenie when it comes to
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can stand up for myself, but in a situation like that, I don't know. It's like that. I feel.
But don't fear it. I
Yeah.
mean, we use jargon the same way you use
Yeah.
jargon, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm connecting the dot back to the
I
beginning.
appreciated
right?
that. No, you validated
Right.
that in the beginning of this, so that I knew coming into this conversation that I would be the poster child, right? Like I knew what I was,
We
and
choose.
I don't want to be that.
We choose to use jargon just because that's our everyday language. It takes
course.
lay people to come back and say, "I don't understand what you're talking about," because I
Yeah.
might think you know it. You know,
Yeah.
just the way
I'm the queen of the acronym.
we speak,
Like, it,
right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with someone saying, "Repeat that again. Use English.
Yeah.
Speak my language."
Yeah.
And it's the same way I did to you a
And
1,000 times.
Same, like back now I'm thinking about like really getting into all of your content and the information that we've been putting together. And we sat to the table. I'm like, I'm literally your audience because you need to educate me. And it worked in the marketing capacity. It's working as going home with my husband and talking about this stuff. And I think when you meet with women, just like when we meet with these guys, and I told Joe the horror stories of working with men, and he's like, wow, like
Yeah.
you didn't even, men don't really understand why women do the women in business until you hear some of the stories, but you guys didn't even have to hear it to know the head of the table should be the woman who literally runs the house, or Joe.
And that's why they're the only men that will ever be on this podcast.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wow,
Just
honor,
kidding.
yeah.
Just
I
kidding.
don't know. I'm kind of
But-
liking this not hot seat, hot seat
No,
thing.
this is
Honor.
good.
This was
is
like
good.
we talked
could be a
about
new
it,
series.
and it was the most natural people to have sit in the
Yeah.
seat.
I hope this is
because-
great content.
Yeah,
for you.
it was.
Oh, absolutely.
It really
this
was.
is a great conversation.
Yep,
Now
right.
tell us, where can our audience find you? How do they get in touch with you? Why should they get in touch with you?
www.lakespire.com.
Perfect.
Lakespire. They are
And
the
why,
Lakespire.
Joe? Why should they call you? Why should all the girls call you?
Not sure.
That was a
For
real,
financial
that was a real
advice.
setup there, right?
For financial
I think he's
advice.
blushing right now.
Keep it
God.
clean, kids.
Ah.
Keep it clean.
That was intentional.
Yeah. Hot seat, not hot seat. Hot seat isn't just about finances, right?
If you're looking for an objective view, someone who wants to work with you, someone who wants to help you. I think our being here maybe demonstrates that a little bit. That we'd like to speak with you. We'd like to help you alleviate your concerns. And we are. When Dan and I are working, we try to work very little pressure. Just have conversations. Conversation never hurt anybody. If you were to visit www.lakespire.com,
It's the place.
or call one of us at 973-683-2486.
That'll get flagged on the
Ask for
TikTok.
Joe.
All right, take that. You can take that out.
That's an edit.
So then, if
Always
you were,
at the end.
conversation never hurt. And as ornery as you may think I am sometimes, I am actually, I'm open to any conversation at any time.
No, we always. But I think to have somebody that, and for our audience, if your husband is handling it, to have somebody to be able to call that has no skin in the game, you guys are just coming to the table literally for the purpose of educating a demographic that really it's a value. So,
Thank you for coming on.
thank you.
Thanks for
This
having
was
us.
great.
Yeah. We're also very proactive. We've won accounts from other firms because, they hear from the advisor once a year and it's all cookie cutter. Especially with new relationships, you're going to be hearing from us a lot, at a minimum monthly check-ins for the first almost year with new relationships. And, times like right now when the market is selling off and it's nuts. We were on the phones early yesterday morning and this morning, right?
I was thinking about you guys.
Reached out to every client. We didn't hear from everyone, but we reached out to every client. And, you're not going to get that everywhere else. So
No.
we're always here.
And we can speak as, you guys as our clients. You're very accessible, you're very responsive. Like, there isn't a question that ever goes unanswered, and it is like, you're on it. You're there, you're on it, and it makes
Thank
working
you.
with it. It's true.
you.
I mean, and in any email, text, phone, whatever that is, you guys definitely show up for us as you're our clients.
Yep.
So I can only imagine the level you take that to with your own clients. So
Yeah, thank you
We
for
appreciate that.
thanks for the plug. I think you should plug yourself. Do it.
Everybody knows how great we are.
All right, good.
they know, they know.
No, but really, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you for
We'll have to
everything
do
you do for
this
us. Thank
again.
you.
Maybe we should do this again after the summer.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Of course,
Thanks.
of course. All right, bye.